Good evening, Joel Putland, CEO and co-founder of Market Masters International. It's my pleasure to be your host this evening in this very urgent and very special Insiders Market Update. And folks, I think you'll all recognize that there's some pretty significant economic things happening around the world. And tonight's presentation, or tonight's information, I should say, is going to be for investors, for those of you who have retirement accounts, and anybody who's interested in creating financial freedom through the stock market and through the financial markets, because the information you're about to hear here tonight is not something you'll find online. It's not something you'll find on TV. This is very, very important and pertinent information to your success in preserving and maximizing your returns. And it's my pleasure to introduce our special guest speaker this evening, Mr. Livio Nespoli. He has basically dedicated his entire life to helping clients get better returns through the stock market. 30-year stock market veteran. He's dedicated his life through creating Inner Analyst, which is a financial publisher which researches the stock market and has looked right back until the inception of the stock market. And he has uncovered some incredible tools and subscriptions that can help you preserve and maximize your wealth. And here's a gentleman who has developed thousands of insider relationships with government and also the elite insiders around the world. And tonight you're going to hear about some pretty incredible snippets of information. And take a step back, grab a coffee, grab a beer, grab a drink, grab a pen and a piece of paper. And folks, there's going to be some very high-level information shared with you here tonight. So if you have any questions, then what you can do is in the right-hand side, you'll be able to see a question box in the chat. You can ask a question. If we do have time at the end of the presentation, we may answer a few of the questions that you have. So we can make sure that you walk away from this event with the information and empowered to really act on that information, because like I mentioned earlier, this information is very urgent. There is something happening in the global economy that you need to be aware of, and you need to really share with your friends and family, because, folks, this affects everybody at every level in every country around the world. So without further ado, Livio, I'm going to hand it over to you, and I'm very excited to hear what you have to say this evening for this special VIP and exclusive and also very urgent Insiders Market Update.
Well, thank you, Joel. I appreciate the introduction. To all of those out there that are joining the call, I want to thank you for joining me tonight. The information we're going to cover today is really relative to the timeline that we have right now. I've been at this business, as Joel mentioned, here for over 30 years. As a financial publisher, unlike a financial advisor, we don't actually deliver specific recommendations for individuals. We broadcast through our subscriptions general signals for many different sectors of the economy. We also do it for countries. We do it domestically for U.S. Indexes. And so I want to preface that whole thing by saying this market we're entering is unique. We are entering a period of time that is going to be devastating for most people, and because they just don't even know what's going on, and especially those within the United States. They watch their football games or their baseball games or whatever, and they watch their TV, and they're just blind to most things that are happening globally. I've been fortunate enough to build relationships with other professional advisors, politicians. Politicians are probably the most important relationships I've built, of probably somewhere in the neighborhood of about 1,600. So Joel, although you said thousands, it's just under 2,000. And this is the group that I get my contact, my information that's happening. And you're going to see that information tonight. I'm going to reveal something tonight to everyone on the call that I would only reveal to our subscribers. And it's something that is actually absolutely devastating. Before I get started, I just want to shout out to the people that are subscribers from the 21 countries that we have subscribers. I also want to make a shout out to those in Italy. I will be traveling in Italy between between September 9th and the 30th. And so if you get in touch with me by email, I'd love to see you. So let's get started here. This is a warning that I've had on our presentations for the last 5 years almost. It says global insider elitists are positioning to confiscate up to 80% of your investment and retirement accounts within the next 5 years. I'm afraid to tell you that actually is no longer 5 years. It has commenced. And I'm going to show you how it has commenced, where it commenced, and what it means to you. This information you're going to learn tonight is probably the most important information I have discussed since 2007, September 10th, 2007 to be exact. It is vital. If you have family, friends, anyone important to you out there, you need to take the time to get them involved and become subscribers. The difference between becoming a slave and becoming a successful person with freedom, no matter where you are in the world, is dependent upon them seeing this information and getting the information we are going to issue through our subscriptions. First thing I want to talk about is transportation. Transportation is a sector of the global economy, and transportation of goods and services is the lifeblood of both a global and domestic economy. It is without doubt a primary leading indicator. In fact, in my book, it may be one of the most important, if not the most important. Transportation of goods and services, both around the world and throughout your country or in the United States, is what brings the goods and services to your grocery store. It's what brings the cars to your dealer. It is the lifeblood. And if that transportation index isn't moving and consistently moving, you have a leading indicator of vital importance. So we're going to cover that. And I want to start out by telling you about the Dow Jones Transportation Average Index. And before I go into this, I want to let you know what actually happened to, not only do we notice that here, you can see on the page here that in the year to date, since January 1st of this year, the transportation index in the United States of America has dropped 10.51%. That was as of today. The reason I started to look at this was because, as you see later on, I'll show you some sector charts and stuff that came out of our software. But the reason this is important is because I have a friend, well, I have multiple friends that are high-level people at Union Pacific, but one friend in particular, who I'll leave nameless, contacted me, and he said, Livio, he goes, year over year, we are down about 1% on train loads. Well, with Union Pacific, 1%, just think of that, 1% of all the train loads in the United States of America. That is just massive, massive. We haven't seen anything like that in many, many years. And that was only the beginning. So it kind of shook me up. I mean, he called me, he was in a meeting. They just had a meeting, and he was shook up. He was scared, I think, probably for his own career. But because he's invested in one of my subscribers, he said, you need to know this. And it's public information, but it's not public information that's given out right away. It becomes public information at that time. So at that meeting, at the end of the meeting, they published this. So it's all legal information. But the public doesn't become aware of this stuff because this stuff isn't publicized, right? It's not in your newsletter or newspaper tomorrow. It could be a week before it's there, even though they publish it. So what happens is you start to learn these things and you start to build these relationships and you find this out. Now, what ended up happening is I started to look more in detail to our sectors, and here's the transportation index. Again, it's down. That's a U.S. transportation index. So let's take a look at the Baltic Dry Goods Index, and many of you may have not even heard about this. This was introduced in 1985. The Baltic Dry Index, first and foremost, is a measure of the global shipping rates of dry bulk goods, mostly consisting of vital raw materials used in the creation of other products. However, here's the key. It is also a measure of demand for said materials in comparison to previous months and years. In other words, how does our shipping through the Baltic Dry Goods Index compare to the past? Well, I want you sitting down and taking notice because this is going to shock you. The reason the Dow Jones Industrial Average or Index, showed the decline now is because it finally got to the U.S. Okay, it's finally hitting the U.S. The U.S. has propped all the markets for many years now. We know that. But take a look at this. The Baltic Dry Goods Index is down 78% since 2011, or just before 2011. 78%. That's bigger than the crash in the S&P stock market in 2008. And yet no one even knows. Why is it crashing? Because we have a deflationary global economy right now, okay? And we are in a time of contraction, not expansion. So as we go through and we realize this, you have to realize what's happening. If this is declining, what's keeping markets up? This is telling you that less and less goods are getting shipped around the world, which means there's less and less demand within the countries themselves, okay? A 78% drop. It's extremely significant. And yet it hasn't caught up to us in the United States yet, because our politicians and our government and the Fed propped up the money and the money supply through QE expansion. And by what I mean by QE expansion is essentially the expansion of the money supply. So they have hidden this, and yet it's going to come home to roost here very, very shortly. So we need to let people know. It is a difference between 2 years ago, 1 year ago, or even 6 months ago. It is now catching up to the United States, and you're starting to see the sectors roll over, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes. So this particular index here, transportation index, is on our site. Those of you who are subscribers notice that there are no arrows here showing up or down. Those of you who are not subscribers, our normal charts like this are going to show you green buy arrows to get in and red arrows to get out. So I'm not showing you where we got out here at this time. But this is what the charts look like in the back end to help you know when to get in and out of the market. Okay, the green bar line that's going up is a January 2015 starting point. So as you can see, the transportation index, represented here by the IYT, which is an ETF, has declined ever since. That's not when we got out. The green arrow here, the green bar, is not when we got out, but when we started. Now, this is the Wealth Maximizer, which is our weekly indicating system, and this shows you where the bar was, the green bar where I started, and where we actually exited the market. As you can see, as an investor, you know when to get out to prevent further loss within your portfolio. Okay? This is the transportation weekly signal. It's the Wealth Maximizer. The next chart is the Wealth Preserver. Now the Wealth Maximizer, is a weekly indicator. This is the monthly indicator. So each bar is a month. As you can see, 1 month later, we got out of the market in the Wealth Preserver, which means when you have a signal in the weekly and a signal in the monthly, you have a serious signal to be out of the market and prevent your losses. This pertains specifically to the IYT or the transportation. So if you are invested in transportation, you would definitely want to get out of that security. Okay? Now, let's talk about Greece. This has been a really touchy subject. For those of you who are around the world, I know, especially those in Greece that are on the call, I know how hard this is for you, and I'm very, very, very sorry that this has happened, that it's come out to a vote. And I'm really happy that you guys voted no. I can't tell you enough how proud I am of you voting no to this, because the vote of no and to the bailout, and you voted no to financial slavery, because that's exactly what that would have come to, okay, by voting yes. Unfortunately, the sales pitch out of the EU and the IMF was to try and scare you into voting for this deal, as voting for this deal could force Greece to leave the European Union and the IMF. Okay? It could send European stocks reeling and possibly provoking other European countries to get a backbone, really, with the sovereign debt crisis issue that they have, and to take a similar course of action, leaving the EU, leaving the euro, okay, which is what we want. This could easily affect stock markets and countries around the world. That was their sales pitch. That was it, okay? They tried to sell you guys that pitch. This was all fabricated and part of the plan to get people to vote yes, as I just mentioned. and they still voted no. Unfortunately, it worked. Even though the people voted no. You have to be kidding me. How did it work anyway? Why and what occurred in Greece to allow the EU to still have control? What did that? Let me show you. The EU and IMF puppeteers. You guys know them better than most Americans. I think Americans are becoming more and more familiar as it hits the press here in the US. But you guys know Christine Lagarde, Mario Draghi, Jean-Claude Juncker. Okay? They are the puppeteers. So who's the puppet? They intimidated the puppet. Unfortunately, similar to what they did to the Italian Prime Minister Silvio Berlusconi, they got rid of him. He was the first one to say, screw you, IMF. I don't want any part of it. The Italians want to be free. They don't want to be slaves of the IMF and the euro. Unfortunately, they intimidated, they got rid of him. They got rid of Silvio Berlusconi, and now, instead of getting rid of Alexis, they just intimidated him, and he didn't want to go, he didn't want to disappear, he didn't want to be executed or give up his position. So they intimidated him. And what did he do? Unfortunately, on June 30th, he succumbed to the pressure from the EU. I got this letter the last day of the month from one of my insiders in Greece. This was a letter that he wrote as Prime Minister of Greece, and he wrote it to Juncker, Draghi, and Lagarde. And here's what happened. He sold the sovereignty of his country. The Hellenic Republic is prepared to accept this staff-level agreement subject to the following amendments, additions, or clarifications as part of an extension of the expiring EFSF program and the new ESM loan agreement for which a request was submitted today, Tuesday, June 30th, 2015. As you will note, our amendments are concrete and they fully respect the robustness and credibility of the design of the overall program that the EU set up. The vote was a scam. It was a sham because he had already agreed, and he agreed to the VAT, he agreed to the fiscal structural measures, pensions, labor markets, and product markets. What am I saying? He sold his citizens out 5 days prior to the vote. Those poor people, they can't get their money out of their banks. I'm literally heartbroken. It is literally stunning that a criminal politician sells his whole population out. They now are slaves. A more important question here that I get is, how do you get this information, and is it legal? As I mentioned earlier, our relationships that we have built as a company around the world allow us to get this information, and it's only public information. It is public, but certainly I could tell you that I built my global network of friends over 30 years, and all the information is publicly available. Therefore, it is 100% legal, but not publicized. It is controlled and hidden for as long as possible to allow specific groups to take advantage before the public. The Greek people don't even know this. American investors have no clue. Global investors have no clue. I had it that night. These are the relationships that you have to stay ahead or stay with the insiders, because that's who is controlling this. It is not the advisors in your local shops discount brokers, full service brokers, they don't, it's not their fault that they don't have this information. They're just not privy to it. And I don't blame them. They're upset as well. It's not fair. Most importantly, timely information is not enough. Just because you have that information doesn't mean a thing. You need to know how to use the information. And that is the key and what we provide our subscribers. When you become a subscriber, we give you that. And that's what gets you ahead. And that's what gets you to building wealth properly. Let me state this real quick here, because this is something before I go on. I want to clearly let you understand. Wealth is not luck. It's not winning the lottery. Sure, that's fortunate. But the odds of that happening they're non-existent. This is a key, and I want you to remember this. It's a skill. That's it. It's a skill that's learned. It's a skill that you can take advantage of and learn. We teach it with our subscriber guide. We teach it with our investment guideline. And in a few minutes, you're going to see another guide we're going to provide our subscribers as well. Understand that. It's a skill. And it doesn't matter where you start, whether you start with little to nothing or you have a bunch of money. Again, it's a skill. Avoiding declining markets, making money in rising markets, it's a skill. And we're going to learn that right now. So this part of the presentation is extremely important. Financial advisors responsible for other people's money and for those who are seriously managing their own. Okay? This is who this information is for. Diversification and the modern portfolio theory. For those of you advisors out there, the MPT theory is a tremendous theory. It was developed, and for those of you who are new to this concept, it's a developed theory of diversification and modeling that allows you to lower your risk and maximize your return. Okay, that's basically what it is. And it was developed during the 20th century, especially after the crash of 1929. Okay, it was a theory that really allowed people a system of efficiency, and it's fantastic. Okay, it really, really works well. Look at that. That's diversification. Small cap, large caps, small cap value, emerging markets, European index, Pacific index. Look at the diversification and how great diversification works until it doesn't. And what I want to point out here is that the modern portfolio theory, to you advisors, you know as well as I do, especially those people who had money, and to your clients, it worked great. But in 2000, it didn't matter what you earned or what diversification you had. Or excuse me, 2008. It didn't matter. The best performing there is a negative 50%, and that was the S&P 500. So the reality is what is this modern portfolio theory? And why didn't it really save you during the decline? Holy cow. It works until it doesn't. It works until there's a real bear market. Massive market moving insiders understand something average advisors and their clients have really no clue about. It's not about diversification, as this guy will tell you. Warren Buffett, probably the Oracle of Omaha, probably the most well-known investor in the world at this time. We think diversification, as practiced generally, makes very little sense for anyone who knows what they are doing. So the first rule is not to lose. And what's the second rule? Don't forget the first rule. So it's about correlation and knowing when to get in and out of the right investments. The correlation table below illustrates that mid-cap, international, and small-cap markets go up and down with the S&P 500 index better than 91% of the time since 2000. So what is international investing doing? Actually, international companies or international diversification correlates more to the S&P 500, which is at the top, than small cap investments within the United States. That's crazy, but it's true. But do individual countries correlate? You may live in one of the 21 country charts that we manage, which are around the world. I want you to just take a quick glance, and I don't want you to look into details of every day or month here. I just want you to take a quick glance. Are you noticing something? The top chart in each image is the S&P 500. Whether it's Spain, Sweden, Mexico, Britain, Canadian markets, Brazilian markets, Belgian markets, Australian markets, take a look at how they correlate to the S&P 500. Now you know why Warren Buffett said that. They all correlate almost perfectly to the S&P. Take a look at below at how correlation can benefit you. This is where we start to talk about the rewards. The bottom chart is the S&P 500. We already know that all these other charts decline with the S&P 500. This particular time frame is from January 08 all the way through November 08, when the stock market had declined 48%. Now take a look at gold. I thought gold was there to protect. In fact, it went down 13.45%. And we all know, and those of you who are subscribers of mine, and have been for many years, know that in 2011 we called the top, and since then gold has crashed. And before I go on, I want to bring that point up real quick. We got out of gold when everyone was screaming to buy gold. It was the top. Everybody was telling it was going to go to 2,500, 5,000, 20, I don't know, 20,000. Some people were. What craziness it was. And that's when our indicator said, well, it's time to get out, and we got out. And we have saved that decline for our investors. Now, this investment at the top is what you really want, because it does not correlate. It correlates, in fact, almost the opposite to the S&P. Why in the world, when you get out or should get out of an investment, would you want to put your money into another investment that correlates with the same investment? So what happens is you do this MPT theory or modern portfolio theory along with diversification, and all you get is a bunch of stocks going down with the market. It's craziness. Instead, there are plenty of investments that make money while the market drops. And that's what we show you as a subscriber, where to go with your money. It doesn't mean you have to go and make 68.5% when the market drops during that 3-month period. It just or 9-month period. It just means that you can even go to cash to get out and just preserve what you have, which we provide the signals for. Okay? So you could go get that 68%. That's up to you. But those options are traded and trained and available within the subscriptions we have, all of them, to be honest. Okay? So this is what it's about. It's about correlation and anti-correlation, not about unified correlation through spreading through a bunch of just investment that all go down together. That's why Warren Buffett said what he said. He's an insider. He knows what's going on. Again, that is what all of our subscriptions are for. That's what they offer. And that's why people become subscribers. That's why we have subscribers in over 21 countries around the world. Okay? We help prevent loss. And if they want, they can go directly to their discount broker, wherever they have their funds, and participate in a rising account value when the markets decline. Here's our actual chart and signals on our S&P index with the Wealth Preserver. These are actual signals. Now you'll notice I didn't give you the current with the Wealth Preserver to determine whether we've gotten a signal now. But since 2000, these are our signals. These are the signals that have been issued. And as you can see, if all you would have done was avoid those massive declines between 2000, 2003, and 2008, you'd be well ahead. In fact, one of these drops alone pays for your subscription for life. In addition, actual charts, the following charts that we have here are in particular some of the sectors that we have that cover the economy. And I'm going to show you them for a very specific reason. Consumer services is another sector of the economy and I want you to follow, if you can see my mouse here. I want you to notice what's happened here, okay? It's topped, okay? Consumer services has topped. We already know what happened to the transportation index. We saw that earlier. Here's the industrials, topped. Is it going to stay down? It's going to continue down. I don't show you the arrows here, okay? And I don't, those are for subscribers, obviously. Real estate. Look what happened to real estate. Here in the U.S., all the real estate agents are like, the market's back, it's exploding. Little do they know what's going on behind the scenes. We know, and our subscribers know, and they've known for weeks and months. Technology, it's topping and started to decline, okay? Energy, look at where we got out. These are actual signals, okay? I wanted to show you one more of actual signals. Look at where we got out. How would you have liked to own that and preserve that money? Okay? If your mutual funds have energy within them, you would have looked, seen how much energy, if it's too large of a percentage, you would have exited that mutual fund and preserved. You don't need to have your money confiscated. You don't need to lose. All you need to do is learn. Understand that insiders move markets. Insiders control political environments. Insiders control markets. All three of our subscriptions take into account the insider action. It's why we've been devastatingly accurate. Obviously, I can't guarantee we're going to be perfect tomorrow. We've never been perfect yet. You've seen all the charts. We don't get out when the first red arrow shows down or the first red market goes down. We have to wait for the internals to prove that it's a true bear market. But we will preserve your wealth, and we will build it faster than at any time in history. And we can help preserve your retirement. We can help build yourself to retirement so long as you have a discount brokerage account. We can help build or full service brokerage account. We can help build your wealth faster than ever before, because as the markets decline, you can either sit the sideline and start from where, even if it's a 2 or 3 year or 4 year decline, at least you'll start where you were at, not 60% or 50% or 80% below. You'll start where you were at. And in the case of making money when the markets decline, you'll not only start where you were at, you'll be so far ahead. That's what we do. And this is what we provide our subscribers. So you are either going to join the insiders and be on the inside, or you are going to become a slave. And I'm so sorry for those in Greece. They've got a battle on their hands right now, and I pray that they overcome their politicians, and I pray that they go and they defeat the EU and break away and go back to the drachma, which is what they want to do. I hope that they do it, because their freedom stands in that way. And let me say this: the sovereign debt crisis that Greece is feeling is spreading. It will spread throughout the world. This is no longer the 90s. It's no longer the 80s. It's no longer the 2000s. This is happening. The global economy is slowing. It's a cycle. It's happened in every civilization since Assyria, Babylon, Rome, Egypt. It's happened. It's cyclical, and it's going to happen now, because human nature doesn't change. Politicians, when they gain control, are greedy. They make decisions to keep themselves in power. This is all about human nature and self-preservation and selfishness. It occurs over and over again. And this sovereign debt crisis is going to start to spread to Europe and to other areas. And eventually, it will quickly spread to the US. As you've seen in the transportation index, it's going to start to spread. So it is vitally important that you spread the word, let people understand what's happening, and put them in positions that at least they don't lose their wealth. At least they can preserve it, because this confiscation, it is a confiscation of wealth by the elite, and it's already started. What I did for our subscribers, and what I'm showing you now, is I created a freedom strategy from 2015 to 2030. And I'm just mentioning it tonight. Our subscribers don't even have a clue. For those of you around the world, you don't even know this is out yet. It won't be out till the end of the month, the beginning of next month. This is a step-by-step plan to preserve, and it's only available to our subscribers. And I might just add that it's available to our second-tier subscribers. Our first-tier subscribers won't get this, so $99 subscribers do from Joel. But I want to show you that and just kind of quickly cover it real quick. It is a freedom strategy, and as you can see here, the other one said 2015 through 2030. The reason this one says 2015 to 2016 is because all the techniques and the information that's trained in this, as you'll see here, introduction, wealth protection, investment strategy, systemic risks, inverse ETFs, all these things that we train and teach you on are effective for the next probably year and a half. Then as the global economy changes and politicians change and things change, we will update this about every quarter. So although it says 2015, 2016, once 2015 is over, this may modify to 2016, 2017, but it is always updated for our subscribers as time goes on. We guide you, as you can see here down here, it's a 40-page document. It's not a short document, but it's going to teach you, how to preserve your wealth in this market. It's going to teach you how to make money in any market along the way, all the way, as I mentioned, through 2030. The end of this cycle should happen between 2026 through 2032. Okay, that's going to be the end of this cycle. I know it's scary, I know it's frightening, but it's what's occurring. It's the reality. And as you make decisions in your life, you don't make decisions on dreams of the past, market actions of the past. You have to make and take action on what is happening now. You can feel it, you can see it, you can read about it, you know it, you know it's true. But what do you do? What do you do about it? And that's what that guide's going to help you do. So I wanted to introduce this tonight in no uncertain terms, and I didn't want to sugarcoat anything. I'm not here to say, come in here, you're going to make $1 billion. That's not what I do. What I do for investors and for people who may not even have investments yet is I offer them an opportunity to sustain their lives at least to what they have now. And hopefully, if they have the personal fortitude and the strength within, that's given within, from our Maker, within you, you know, you must take action. You must put yourself in position to at least not become a slave to somebody else, because by doing that, you make your children possibly slaves, and we don't want to do that, because these times are coming. So I implore you, take action, and preserve yourself, preserve your life, preserve your family's life, your cousins, sisters, uncles, friends, preserve it. If you're in a church, let them know it's coming. And we will keep you posted on our website. As subscribers, we post updates all the time. And we are also going to be adding, I'm going to be adding anyway, to my subscribers, a monthly update where we'll have a call specifically once a month to keep people posted and abreast of what's going on. Okay? So I implore you to take action, and you'll be in good shape if you do. Okay? Joel, I want to thank you for the time to allow me to make this presentation to your crew here. I'm really honored.
Thank you, Livio, and I think everyone who is on the call today, understands the power and the magnitude of what you've just shared with people, and really it's universal and globally responsible for us to take action and share this information with others, because it really will affect millions and even billions of people across the world. And thank you for sharing your wisdom and your connections. You know, I know that you've worked very hard and you have the inside knowledge. And you know, I'd like to thank you on behalf of everybody on the call here today for sharing your knowledge. And it's very valuable and very, I guess you could say, eye-opening as well. That, you know, what's happening in the media, you know, what's happening around the world, we don't really know what's going on, and it's not until we have the access to the knowledge of the insiders, which you provide us, and we're so grateful for that information, for that knowledge, and being one of the very rare people, Livio, that actually want to share and help people with the information and not just keep it to themselves, like you said, for their own personal gain and just to protect themselves. And I think, you know, that's part of why the amalgamation of Market Masters International to take these subscriptions to the world and your vision of helping people and really protecting investors and protecting families all around the world has brought us together and enabled us to bring this bring your products to the global market. And I just wanted to ask you, Livio, you spoke about the transport industries and the Baltic dry goods and the Union Pacific being an indicator of the economy. And there's something that you mentioned to me when we were speaking a few weeks ago about the Union Pacific was down 1%. And you mentioned in 2008, it was only down 0.5% at that point in time. Can you elaborate briefly on that? Because that's very powerful to understand.
That's a good point. The actual and I use Union Pacific only because, Joel, that I have so many people down there that I know at the top level. Okay, because I'm in Omaha, I've just happened to build friends over the years, many subscribers down there, and I've got a very, very, very close friend. I would almost consider my best friend, and I was very fortunate to build that relationship many, many years ago. And I knew that when he came to me and he said, "Hey, we're having a pretty significant decline," when he came to me in September of 2007. I listened to him then, and I started to analyze, because, you know, you look at all the sectors and all the charts I have on the site, which we have 21 country charts. We have all the sectors of the United States on there. Plus we have the S&P, the Dow Jones, and the NASDAQ, and the Russell 2000 on the site for subscribers, and both the Wealth Preserver and Wealth Maximizer. But, you know, so I have to watch a lot, and it is extremely time-consuming to do these kinds of things and to compile this and then to tie it into all this information. So if you don't have those people at those locations, it's impossible. Literally, it's just impossible to know when a particular sector is moving and when that information becomes immediately available as far as publicly available. It's not so much the information itself as the time the information is given. So when he gave me that information, I started to analyze the analysis, and as far as in the software, and I began to realize that our system was really, really close in that particular sector to turning. And then so it was funny, because I was talking to my subscribers, and I told my subscribers, and some of them got out September 10th, 2007. And I have to tell you, although that sounds nice, we had a huge boom until late November. And so some of them were cussing me out. So, you know, I laugh about it today, but then I was crying about it because they listened to me and they got out. The reality was our system didn't signal till January, as you saw in the chart earlier, to get out. But some of those people who were close to me jumped out when that information was first published. So they had to wait a few months, and I had to get, you know, some mental punishment before that market turned, and then it turned. But the key here to understand is that this information, when it comes from these people, has to be timely, and it has to be incorporated. And so it's such a blessing, and I feel blessed to be able to have these relationships and trust. They trust me, or it doesn't get done. And I'm able to take this information and to put it out to the public. So we're fortunate to be in this position, And your subscribers through MMI now, not just my subscribers from PRO, but your subscribers through MMI are going to be amazed at what this can do for them, so long as they act. Information is good, and you know, it's good to show these signals, and not every signal is perfect by any means. We've seen that, you know, throughout, but the primary major signals are tremendously accurate. And as long as the people act on them, that is the key. It just isn't information, it's information to be acted upon. And so these relationships, like with Union Pacific, when they called me, this recent one, and said it's down almost 1%, and in reality, when the numbers came in, it was in excess of 1%. Of course, I didn't publish that information at the time, but it was in excess. And now you see that the transportation index is down almost 6%, which is 5% greater than the day they told me. So it is extremely important to have that information, because your time of getting out is what's the key, and the time to get in is what is the key, and to entrust that to the algorithms that we developed over the years. Those algorithms have been developed over a tremendous time frame. In fact, the research that went into these algorithms and the data that we come from started in 1927. So this is these algorithms aren't, you know, they weren't found under a rock, right? So we find out what's going on. In fact, I want to bring something to people's attention here, and you kind of led me on a stream here. There is a trading board in Chicago, the Chicago Board of Trade, and on that they have trading for futures contracts. And what people don't realize is they think, you know, brokerage firms have seats on the board, and they trade the S&P futures. The reality is, Russia has a seat, the United States has seats through their proxies. They are trading the markets, folks, and they sit and guide the markets. And I'm not going to say that they're perfect on their guidance by any means. I'm not going to say that. But they are tremendous, because when they invest $1, it manages $17 of market behavior. It's leveraged. You better know what they're doing. You better know what George Soros is doing on the markets, what Warren Buffett is doing over there in the CBO, the Chicago Board of Trade. You better know. We follow them. Those are built into our algorithms, especially the smart money system. You better understand that. And I ask you a question here. If the insiders are doing it, and when I say insiders, I don't mean illegal insider trading. I mean the insiders who know what's going on and direct action. Let me ask you, simple question. You've been investing. If you lost money in 2008, how would you like to have a call to Warren Buffett in December of 2007 and said, hey, Warren, what's going to happen to the markets? What do you think? Should I go to cash? And he said, yeah, go to cash because the markets are going to crash. Well, guess what? That's exactly what you could have done, because that's exactly what's happened on the Chicago Board of Trade. That's exactly what happened with the traders over there. They were out. In fact, they were short by substantial amounts. So you better listen to them. And I ask you, if you like the way you invest today, and you're doing and making substantial, and you're growing very, very rapidly, give me a call. I want to know what your system is. But if you lost money in 2008, if your money didn't go up in 2008 or didn't go flat in 2008, if it took you till 2010, 2012, 2014 for you just to get even, and I'm not talking about additional contributions, I'm just talking about the original amount that you had in 2008, beginning of 2008, if that amount declined and came back, it took a long time to do so. Wouldn't you rather just follow what they're doing, what the insiders are doing? Does it make more sense? It just makes more sense. Even if all you did was go to cash in January or even February of 2008 for your sake, if it took you a little while to make the decision, wouldn't you have been better off sitting on the sideline with a larger amount of money than starting from a 48 to 50% decline? And as you saw in that chart at the beginning, the 50% decline was the best decline. The rest went down as much as 70-some% or more. It just doesn't have to happen. So when you ask Joel about these people who are there, I can only say that I've been blessed to have their trust, that they inform me. And similar to the letter I got from Greece, basically within 7 hours, it is that information that allows you to make intelligent decisions. And sometimes it's hard emotionally, but it's important that you get that information and you send it out and you disclose it to your people right away, because it is public information. And then let them decide on what they should do. Let them follow the systems based on what we have, and the decisions that are intelligent based on information that is vital and timely. So that relationship with those people down at Union Pacific and with many other companies across the country is appreciated.
Most definitely. And Olivia, I think it's very important for everybody on the call here today to understand that we're not saying right now get out of the market. We're saying there's some major things happening in the background. There may well be another rally like in 2008 where you could add another 10 or 20% to your portfolio. Our signals are what dictates what we push out to the subscribers, not the information. The information is a guide, but ultimately the algorithms which you have developed over 20 plus years and Nobel laureate research, that's what guides the signals. And folks, that's the key thing to understand here. The technology tracks what the insiders are doing and then averages it out. So you don't have to learn anything. You don't have to know anything. Livio knows all of this research, correlates all of the research has already been done. Everything extra, like the letter from Greece, like the phone calls from specific companies, add into that mix. The beautiful thing, and what I'm so appreciative, Livio, of yourself, is that as an investor, as somebody who's just starting out or an advanced investor, we don't need to know anything about the stock market. We don't have to do the research because you handle all of that. Your company or an analyst handles all of that. So it allows us to have confidence in what's happening and have a simple, proven, and easy system that really anybody can follow in any country. And it's all driven around the backbone of the S&P 500. So, folks, even if you don't...
Joel, excuse me. I want to add something to this because you're exactly right. I want to let everybody know that the signal is that of the subscription. But more importantly, the reason we can issue this and grab this information and put it out so rapidly is because we are a publisher. If you are a financial advisor, or you're part of a brokerage firm, or you're part of a bank or some financial service that is regulated, that process of putting information out takes a very long time to get approved. People that are out there that are with banks or insurance companies or securities firms understand what compliance means, and they understand they are fully regulated. And there's a reason they're regulated, Joel. They're regulated to make sure that the information they put out is not that the insiders really want you to know. As a publisher, we're not regulated that way, so we can issue this. And unfortunately, advisors, we have many advisors that are subscribers, they read our information and they get our information and then they use it within to help make their decisions. And so it is a information source that allows people to make decisions that are not under any regulation, or the every single word we write doesn't have to be approved by the central compliance office. I was a registered investment advisor most of my career, Series 7 license, 6, everything. I had it all. And that's why I became a publisher. I knew that I could not put this out to people on a timely basis. That's when I started to develop my relationships. And for those of you that are out there and see the other videos on how each subscription works, that's how I developed it. I had to break away from that, and in that process, it was a heck of a drop in income for a while. I'll tell you that much. But it was a process that I undertook because it was more important to get the information out to the masses, and so this resource here I have with you, Joel, through MMI, allows us to do that in a private and rapid manner. So I just want people to understand that this information given out by those kind of companies is regulated, and so it's rare that it comes out, but a publisher can provide it. Okay.
Thank you, Livio, and once again, thank you for the time tonight sharing with this very important information. And folks, if you take nothing else apart from the fact that if you track the S&P 500 and watch what's going on, then you've got your finger on the pulse on the global economy. But the reality is, unless you have the insider's knowledge, you're behind the pack. You're catching up when everybody else is selling, the insiders are selling, you're buying. And that is the power of Livio's subscriptions and the Inner Analyst subscriptions and the subscriptions that are exclusive to Market Masters International. And I urge you to get back with whoever invited you on the call here today and ask them about those subscriptions and how to get started. And by divine intervention, if you just happen to be on the event here today, then you can contact support at mmiwealthbuilder.com, and we can have one of our affiliates contact you with more information. So again, if you weren't invited by anybody and by divine intervention you are here on this presentation today, then you can contact support at mmiwealthbuilder.com, and one of our affiliates will get in contact with you with more information about these incredible subscriptions, this incredible information, and how you can have access to it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and get access to these very important updates that will be happening over the weeks and months as more economic factors really unveil and rear their ugly heads around the world, folks. We're in a very interesting time. And those of you who take action will be able to prosper, will be able to sleep well at night, knowing that they have the information that's going to help protect them and their family, potentially help them generate and amass huge amounts of wealth over the next few decades as the global economy really shifts and changes to what everybody has known in the past. We're entering a very different future, and we are in the right place at the right time with the right financial mind and company within our analysts to be able to help protect and preserve our wealth. And once again, Livio, thank you for sharing this information, and everybody have an incredible evening. And we look forward to helping you preserve, protect, and maximize your wealth over the coming economic conditions.